Imagine being able to laugh heartily with your friends, to enjoy a long, leisurely walk through a beautiful park, or to take a restorative yoga class without the constant, nagging worry of leaking urine. For a great many women navigating life over the age of 60, the experience of urinary leakage can feel like an unavoidable and embarrassing part of the aging process. Something that you are simply expected to accept with a sense of quiet and resigned embarrassment. But here is the profound and empowering truth that I so deeply want you to hear today. While leakage is indeed incredibly common, it is most certainly not inevitable. You possess far more control over the health and vitality of your pelvic region than you may currently realize. And two of the most effective, natural, and time-tested tools to help you prevent leakage and to fundamentally strengthen your pelvic floor are practices that you can begin at any age: Kegel exercises and the gentle art of yoga. Hello, my name is Dr. Lily Stone. For more than 3 decades, I have had the immense privilege of caring for women through all of the unique and beautiful stages of their lives, and I have a special focus on the unique health challenges that so often arise in the years after 60. I have listened to countless women who whisper about their experiences with leakage as though it were a secret and shameful burden. I have sat with women who have begun to avoid their cherished social outings for fear of having an accident. And I have counseled women who feel as though their precious sense of independence is slowly but surely slipping away with each and every unexpected leak. I want you to know with absolute certainty that you are not alone in this experience, and more importantly, that you are not powerless. Today, I will share with you exactly how Kegel exercises and the practice of yoga can help you to prevent leakage, to strengthen the very foundation of your pelvic floor, and to regain the sense of freedom and confidence that you so deeply and completely deserve. Before we dive into the details, I would be so honored if you would take a moment to subscribe to Elderwear Wellness, a supportive and informative community that is built specifically for women over the age of 50 who are ready and willing to take charge of their own health. And if the issue of leakage has ever touched your life or the life of a loved one, I warmly invite you to leave a comment below. The simple act of sharing your story might be the very encouragement that another woman so desperately needs in order to start her own and personal healing journey. So, let us begin with the first and most crucial key idea: understanding the magnificent architecture of your pelvic floor. Your pelvic floor is an intricate and intelligent group of muscles and connective tissues that are situated at the very base of your pelvis. I want you to think of it as being like a strong and supportive hammock that is responsible for holding your bladder, your uterus, and your bowels securely in place. These remarkable muscles are also the ones that are responsible for controlling when you are able to release urine or stool. Over the course of time, however, this essential and supportive hammock can begin to weaken. This can be due to a variety of factors, whether it is from the experience of childbirth, from many years of heavy lifting, from a chronic and a persistent cough, or simply from the natural and expected decline in our overall muscle tone that is known to come with the process of aging. A weakened and a compromised pelvic floor is what so often leads to the experience of a leakage, which can sometimes occur with just a simple and a joyful laugh, a sudden and an unexpected sneeze, or a small and a seemingly insignificant physical exertion. A great deal of medical research has conclusively shown that the practice of a pelvic floor muscle training, and especially of the targeted and of the focused Kegel exercises, is one of the most highly and most effective of all of the non-surgical treatments for the condition of a urinary leakage. According to the esteemed National Institutes of Health, NIH, a consistent and a dedicated practice of the Kegel exercises can be a factor that is able to reduce the number of our leakage episodes by up to 70% in the older women. That means that you could be able to go from a state of a worrying on a daily and on a regular basis about the possibility of having an accident to a state of a regaining a profound and a beautiful sense of a confidence in your own and in your personal body's ability to be able to control itself. And the very best and the most wonderful part of all of this is that you do not need any kind of a special and an expensive equipment or a gym membership in order to be able to do this. You are able to start right where you are, in the safety and in the comfort of your own and of your personal home. I am often reminded of one of my patients, a retired and a wonderful nurse who was in her 70s, and who had told me that she had had to stop attending her weekly and her beloved book club because she was so terrified of the possibility of her having to leak on the chair. After just 3 and a simple and a short months of a daily and of a regular Kegel practice, which she had paired with a gentle and a restorative form of a yoga, she had been able to return to her book club, and she had told me, "I am able to feel as if I have been able to get my life back." Her story is not at all an unusual one. It is, in fact, exactly what is able to happen when women are able to learn how to be able to reconnect with and to be able to strengthen their own and their personal pelvic floor. So, as we now begin to move forward in our journey together, I would like you to remember this one, and this important and this critical point: the experience of a leakage is not in any way a sign of a failure. It is, in fact, a signal from your own and your personal body that your pelvic floor is in need of some of your attention. In the next part of our series together, I will be walking you through the process, step by step, of how you can be able to properly and to effectively do the Kegel exercises so that you will be able to know that you are strengthening the right and the proper muscles and that you are setting yourself up for a real and a tangible and a lasting improvement in your condition. The very first and the most important of all of the steps in the process of our having to strengthen our pelvic floor is the act of our having to learn how to be able to properly and to effectively perform a Kegel exercise. A great many of the women that I have worked with over the years will so often believe that they are doing the Kegels in a correct and in an effective way. But a number of scientific studies have been able to show us that nearly half of all of the women who are attempting to do them are actually engaging the wrong and the improper muscles, as they are sometimes tightening their thighs, their buttocks, or their abdomen instead of their pelvic floor. When that particular and that important mistake is being made, you are not able to get the wonderful and the profound benefits of the exercise, and your sense of a frustration is so often able to grow. So, let us now take a brief moment to be able to truly and to completely understand what a correct and an effective Kegel is able to feel like. I would like you to imagine for a moment that you are trying to be able to stop the flow of your urine in the middle of the stream. That gentle and that subtle and that internal squeeze that you are able to feel deep and far inside of you is the feeling of your pelvic floor as it is contracting. Another, and a very effective way of being able to picture it is to be able to think of the act of your having to lift a small and a delicate and a precious blueberry with your vaginal muscles without you having to crush it. You are not holding your breath in the process, and you are not tensing your stomach. You are simply and completely lifting and holding with those very and those essential and those important hammock-like muscles that are located so deep and so far inside of your pelvis. Once you have been able to identify that particular and that important sensation, you are then able to begin to practice it anywhere that you would like to. You can do it while you are sitting at a red and a stop light, while you are watching television, or while you are lying in your bed, just before you go to sleep at night. Now, let us now talk about the importance of a structure. In order for you to be able to truly and to completely strengthen your pelvic floor, you are going to need a consistent and a regular routine. I would like you to start by being able to contract your pelvic floor muscles for a period of 3 to 5 seconds, and then you will be able to relax them for the very same and the very exact amount of a time. You should be able to repeat this particular and this important cycle for a period of 10 times in a row. And you should be able to aim to be able to do 3 and a separate and an individual sets of 10 of these contractions each and every day. As your muscles begin to grow so much stronger, you will be able to gradually and progressively increase the amount of a time that you are able to hold the contraction to a period of 8 or of 10 seconds. It is like you are engaging in a form of a weight training for your pelvic floor. You would not be able to expect to be able to build some strong and some robust arms without a regular and a consistent practice. And the very same and the very exact truth is able to be applied to this particular and this important area of your body as well. According to the esteemed Mayo Clinic, the women who are able to stick with a daily and a regular and a consistent practice of their Kegels will so often be able to notice some significant and some tangible improvements in their condition within just 3 and a simple and a short months. The key and the most important and the most critical of all of the factors is a sense of a consistency. Just as the act of our having to brush our teeth on a daily and on a regular basis is able to work to prevent the development of a variety of cavities, the act of our having to exercise our pelvic floor on a daily and on a regular basis is able to work to prevent the experience of a leakage. It may be able to feel a bit awkward for you at first, but over the course of time, it is able to become a second and a natural and a beautiful nature for you, a small and a seemingly insignificant habit that is able to work to protect your own and your personal sense of your freedom. A patient of mine, a wonderful and a beautiful grandmother who was in her late 60s, had once told me that she was feeling so very skeptical about the effectiveness of the Kegels. How could something that is so very simple be able to really and truly help me? She had asked me, but after she had been able to faithfully and to consistently practice them for a period of 2 months, she had begun to notice that she was having a fewer number of accidents when she was laughing or when she was sneezing. By the time of her 6th month and of her follow-up visit, she had been able to feel so confident enough to be able to go on a long and a beautiful bus trip with her friends, without her having to worry about the possibility of a sudden and an unexpected leakage. She had told me, "It is like I have been able to build a new and a beautiful sense of a strength for myself from the inside and out." There are also a variety of tools that are available to you if you are able to find that it is so very hard for you to be able to know whether or not you are doing the exercises in a correct and in an effective way. A variety of biofeedback devices, of a vaginal weights, or of a variety of smartphone connected trainers can all be a factor that is able to provide you with a great deal of a guidance and of an encouragement. While it is certainly true that these particular and these important tools are not necessary for everyone, some of the women that I have worked with over the years have been able to find that these particular and these important tools are able to be a factor that is able to boost their motivation and that is able to be instrumental in helping them to be able to track their own and their personal progress. A physical and a professional therapist who is able to specialize in a women's health can also be a factor that is able to teach you the proper and the right technique, and that is able to design a personalized and a unique plan for you. If you are in need of any kind of an extra and an additional support, the most important and the most critical of all of the things for you to be able to remember is this one. The act of our having to strengthen our pelvic floor is not about the act of our having to achieve any kind of a perfection. It is, in fact, about the act of our having to make a progress. Each and every one of the contractions that you are able to practice is a small and a seemingly insignificant investment in your own and in your personal sense of your independence, of your confidence, and of your comfort. In the next part of our series together, we will be exploring the way in which the practice of a yoga is able to complement the practice of the Kegel exercises, as it is able to be instrumental in helping you to not only be able to strengthen your pelvic floor, but also to be able to improve your sense of your balance, of your flexibility, and of your relaxation in ways that are so wonderfully and so profoundly supportive of your whole and your entire body. The practice of a yoga is the perfect and the ideal partner to the practice of the Kegel exercises when it is able to come to the important and the critical task of our having to protect our pelvic health and of our having to prevent the experience of a leakage. While it is certainly true that the Kegels are able to target the pelvic floor in a direct and a precise way, The practice of a yoga is able to work to strengthen all of the muscles that are so wonderfully and so profoundly supportive of it, of the hips, of the core, and of the lower back, thereby creating a stable and a reliable foundation. It is also able to work to improve our flexibility and our posture, both of which are known to be a factor that is able to reduce the pressure that is being placed on our bladder. And just as importantly, the practice of a yoga is able to bring a great deal of an awareness to our bodies. When you are able to practice a yoga, you are able to learn how to be able to breathe so much more deeply, how to be able to relax a great deal of attention, and how to be able to connect with a variety of muscles that you may not have even been able to notice before. That particular and that important mind-body awareness is a factor that is able to make your Kegels so much more effective. And it is a factor that is able to be instrumental in helping you to be able to feel so much more in a control of your own and of your personal body. A squat is able to work to build a great deal of a strength in your hips and in your core, while at the same time, it is also engaging your pelvic floor. These particular and these important movements may be able to look so very simple, but when they are being practiced on a consistent and on a regular basis, they are able to work to retrain your body in order to be able to support your bladder in a much more effective and in a much more efficient way. Another of the wonderful and the profound advantages of a yoga is that it is a practice that is able to work to reduce our stress. A great many of the women that I have worked with over the years do not even realize that the experience of a stress can be a factor that is able to worsen the experience of a leakage. When you are feeling so very anxious, your muscles, including your pelvic floor, are so often able to tense up. Over the course of time, this particular and this important tension is able to weaken their ability to be able to contract in a proper and in an effective way. The focus of a yoga on a slow and a deep breathing and on a gentle and a restorative movement is able to be instrumental in helping you to be able to calm your nervous system, a factor that is able to allow your pelvic floor to be able to function in a much more natural and in a much more efficient way. You can think of it as being like the act of our having to oil a hinge. When the tension is able to melt away, the movement is able to become so much smoother and so much more controlled. I can recall a patient of mine who was in her early 70s and who had made the decision to join a senior yoga class at her local and her community center. At first, she had been so very worried that she would not be flexible enough, but her instructor had been able to show her a variety of modified and of a variety of gentle poses with the use of a chair for a support. Within just a few and a simple and a short months, she had been able to notice not only a fewer and a fewer number of leaks, but also a better and a more stable sense of her balance, and so much less of a back pain. She had laughed and she had told me, I had gone in there just to be able to stop my leaking, but I had come out of there standing so much taller and feeling so much younger. That is the wonderful and the inherent beauty of a yoga. It is able to work to support our entire and our comprehensive well-being, and not just one and a single and an individual area. If you are new to the practice of a yoga, please do not worry. You do not need to be able to twist yourself into a variety of complex and of a variety of intimidating shapes, or to be able to balance on your head. You can choose to start with a variety of gentle and of a variety of accessible poses, ideally with the guidance of a teacher who is so very experienced with the older adults. A great many of the community centers, of the YMCAs, and of the online classes are so very specially and so very lovingly tailored for the beginners who are over the age of 60. Even just 5 to 10 minutes of a practice a day can be a factor that is able to make a very significant and a very tangible difference. The act of our having to pair these particular and these important gentle stretches with our daily and our regular Kegel routine is able to create a holistic and a comprehensive routine that is able to work to strengthen, to be able to relax, and to be able to empower our pelvic floor. Together, the Kegels and the yoga are able to form a powerful and an effective duo. One is able to work to build a direct and a precise muscle strength, while the other is able to work to build a supportive and a stable sense of a stability and of a calm. In the next part of our series together, we will be exploring the way in which the making of some small and some seemingly insignificant daily changes, such as a variety of healthy and of a variety of supportive lifestyle habits and of a reflection, can be a factor that is able to enhance these particular and these important practices, as they are able to be instrumental in helping you to be able to sustain your progress and to be able to feel so very confident long and far into your future. Beyond the various and the sundry exercises like the Kegels and the yoga, your daily and your regular habits are able to play a very powerful and a very significant role in how well you are able to protect your pelvic health. You can think of your pelvic floor as being like the very and the essential and the important foundation of a house. A variety of strong and of a variety of robust exercises are able to work to build the structure of the house, but your lifestyle is the very thing that is able to determine whether or not it is able to stay so very sturdy year after year. The wonderfully and the profoundly good news in all of this is that a variety of small and of a variety of consistent changes can be a factor that is able to make a very big and a very significant difference in the process of our having to prevent a leakage and of our having to keep our pelvic floor in a resilient and a healthy state. One of the key and the most important of all of the factors is the act of our having to maintain a healthy and a stable weight. Any of the extra and of the unnecessary pounds that we may be carrying are able to put an added and an unnecessary pressure on our bladder and on our pelvic floor muscles, a factor that is able to make a leak so much more likely to be able to occur. A number of scientific studies that have been conducted by the esteemed National Institutes of Health, NIH, have been able to show us that even just a modest and a seemingly insignificant amount of a weight loss, just 5 to 10% of our total and our overall body weight, can be a factor that is able to significantly and dramatically reduce the number of our episodes of a leakage. It does not have to require any kind of an extreme and an unhealthy form of a dieting. The simple and the beautiful act of our having to focus on a variety of balanced and of a variety of nutritious meals with a variety of lean and of a variety of healthy proteins, of a variety of colorful and of a variety of vibrant vegetables, and of a variety of whole and of a variety of nutritious grains, and of our having to stay so very mindful about our portion sizes can be a factor that is able to ease the load on our pelvic floor. Another of the habits that is able to work to support our bladder control is the act of our having to stay so very active. Beyond the practice of a yoga, a variety of activities like a walking, a swimming, or a light and a gentle form of a strength training are all able to be a factor that is able to keep our core and our hips so very strong, while at the same time, they are also able to work to boost the circulation of the blood to our pelvic region. The act of our movement is also able to work to support our bowel regularity, a factor that is known to matter a great deal, as a state of a constipation can be a factor that is able to strain and to be able to weaken our pelvic floor over the course of time. By being able to keep our bodies in a state of a movement, we are not just strengthening our muscles, we are also helping every single and individual system in our bodies to be able to work so much more smoothly and so much more efficiently. What it is that you are drinking is also able to matter a great deal as well. A great many of the women that I have worked with over the years will so often think that the act of their having to cut back on their fluids will be a factor that is able to reduce the incidence of their leakage. But in profound and in beautiful reality, a state of a dehydration is a factor that is able to make our urine so much more concentrated, a change that is able to irritate our bladder. The smarter and the more effective of all of the approaches is for us to be able to drink a sufficient and an adequate amount of a water throughout our day, while at the same time, we are also working to reduce our intake of a variety of bladder irritants, such as a caffeine and alcohol, and a variety of carbonated and of a variety of sugary drinks. The act of our having to sip our water on a regular and on a consistent basis, instead of our having to gulp a large and an excessive amount of it all at once is also a factor that is able to be instrumental in helping our bladder to be able to adjust in a much more gentle and in a much more gradual way. The act of our smoking is another of the very important and of the very critical of all of the considerations. The smoke of a cigarette is not only able to harm our lungs and our hearts, but it is also able to work to weaken the connective tissue throughout our entire bodies, including our pelvic floor. The chronic and the persistent cough that is so often caused by a smoking is able to create a constant and a downward pressure that is able to work to accelerate the experience of a leakage. The act of our having to quit a smoking is able to benefit every single and individual part of our health. And for our bladder, it is like we are taking a heavy and a cumbersome weight off of our pelvic floor and off of our hammock. Lastly, it is so very important for us to be able to pay a close and a careful attention to our bowel habits. The act of our having to strain on the toilet over the course of time is like we are repeatedly and consistently pulling on the very same and the very exact rubber band. It will eventually and inevitably be a factor that is able to cause it to lose its elasticity. The act of our having to eat a variety of fiber, rich, and of a variety of nutritious foods like a bean, a berry, and a whole and a nutritious grain, when it is paired with a proper and an adequate form of a hydration, is able to be a factor that is able to reduce a state of a constipation, and that is able to work to protect our pelvic floor from any kind of an unnecessary and an unwanted stress. I have had the wonderful and the profound opportunity to see so many of the women that I have worked with over the years to be able to combine these small and these seemingly insignificant lifestyle adjustments with a Kegel and with a yoga practice, and to be able to achieve some truly and completely remarkable and beautiful results. One of the women that I have worked with over the years, who was in her mid-60s, had told me that she had felt so doomed to have to wear a pad forever. But after just 6 and a simple and a short months of a steady and a consistent Kegel practice, of a gentle and a restorative yoga routine, and of a variety of small and of a variety of seemingly insignificant lifestyle changes, of a walking on a daily and on a regular basis, of a cutting back on her coffee, and of an adding so much more of a fiber to her diet, she had been able to cut the number of her leakage episodes in half. She had said to me, "I am finally able to feel as if I am back in a charge of my own and of my personal body, instead of my body being able to control me." Every single and every individual woman's journey is able to look a little bit different, and that is so very much okay. What is able to matter the most is that you are able to start where you are, and that you are able to take one and a single and an individual step at a time. You might be able to find that one and a single and an individual small and a seemingly insignificant habit change is able to make a very noticeable and a very tangible difference, or that the act of your having to combine a few of them together is able to give you the breakthrough that you have been so very much hoping for. I would be so very happy to be able to hear from you. Have you been able to notice that any of the small and the seemingly insignificant lifestyle changes that you have been able to make have been able to be instrumental in helping you to be able to reduce your leakage or to be able to improve your confidence? Please share your own and your personal experience in the comments section below. Your own and your personal insight may just be the very thing that another woman is so very much in need of being able to take her very first and her very earliest step. In our final and our last part together, we will be able to bring all of these particular and these important pieces all together, of the Kegels, of the yoga, and of the daily and of the regular habits, into a clear and a comprehensive roadmap for the purpose of our having to protect our pelvic floor and of our having to reclaim our own and our personal sense of our freedom in the years after the age of 60. We have now had the wonderful and the profound opportunity to be able to walk through 3 of the most powerful and the most effective of all of the ways in which you are able to take a control of your pelvic health in the years after the age of 60 you go, of the Kegels, of the yoga, and of the supportive and of the nourishing daily habits. And it is now time for us to be able to bring it all together. If there is one and a single and an individual message that I would like you to be able to hold on to, it is this one. The experience of a leakage is so very common, but it is not something that you have to accept as being your new and your non-negotiable normal. With a consistent and a regular practice, and with a few and a simple and a short and a mindful changes, you are still completely and totally able to strengthen your pelvic floor, to be able to reduce the number of your accidents, and to be able to reclaim the profound and the beautiful freedom to be able to live your life without any kind of a worry. The Kegel exercises are able to give you the direct and the precise muscle training that your pelvic floor so very much needs. They are like you are lifting a variety of weights for the hidden and the essential and the important hammock of the muscles that are so wonderfully and so profoundly supportive of your bladder and of your bowel. When they are being done on a daily and on a regular basis, they are able to work to retrain those particular and those important muscles to be able to work for you once again, so that the experiences of a laughter, of a sneeze, or of an exercise are not able to catch you off of your guard. The practice of a yoga is able to complement this by being able to strengthen your core and your hips, by being able to improve your sense of your balance, and by being able to reduce your stress, an often and a frequently overlooked factor that can so often be a factor that is able to worsen the experience of a leakage. Together, they are able to work to build both a sense of a strength and of an awareness. The various and the sundry lifestyle choices are the very glue that is able to hold it all together. The act of our having to stay so very active, of our having to eat some nourishing and some delicious foods, of our having to drink a sufficient and an adequate amount of a water, of our having to avoid a smoking, and of our having to protect ourselves from a state of a constipation are all able to work to support our pelvic floor. These particular and these important daily and of irregular decisions may be able to seem so very small, but over the course of time, they are able to work to create an internal environment in which our muscles are able to stay so very strong and so very responsive. You can think of it as being like the process of our having to tend to a beautiful and a precious garden. The exercise is the planting, and the lifestyle is the sunlight and the water that are able to make the growth so very much possible. I have had the wonderful and the profound opportunity to be able to watch so many countless numbers of women to be able to transform their lives with these particular and these important steps. They have been able to go from a state of a quietly and of a silently dreading a variety of social events to a state of enjoying them with a sense of an ease. From a state of a feeling so very tied to a pad or to a bathroom to a state of a feeling so very free once again. And what I so deeply and so completely love the most is the act of my having to see the spark to be able to return to their faces when they are able to realize, I am able to do something about this. It is never and completely too late for us to be able to strengthen our bodies and to be able to regain our confidence. As women, we are so often able to put everyone else's needs first, but our health is able to matter, and the act of our having to take some time for our Kegels, for our yoga, or for a daily and a regular walk is not in any way a selfish one. It is, in fact, an act of a self-care. Each and every one of the efforts that you are able to make is a precious and a beautiful gift to your own and to your personal future self. A woman who is able to move with a sense of a confidence, who is able to laugh without a worry, and who is able to enjoy her own and her personal sense of her independence. Thank you so very much for having joined me on this particular and this important journey. If you have found this particular video to be a helpful and an important one, I would be so very grateful if you would please share it with a friend or with a loved one who may also be struggling with a sense of a leakage. Please leave a comment with your own and your personal experiences, or with your own and your personal questions. You never know just how much your own and your personal story might be able to help another woman. And if you have not yet done so, I would be so very grateful if you would please subscribe to Elder Ver Wellness so that you can be able to continue to be able to receive some trusted and some compassionate advice each and every week. Please remember, your body is completely and totally capable of a change at any and at every age. By being able to combine the Kegels, the yoga, and a variety of healthy and a variety of supportive habits, you are giving yourself the strength, the confidence, and the freedom to be able to keep on enjoying your life well and far beyond the age of 60. You so deeply and so completely deserve nothing less than that.